Good morning and welcome to this worship service at South Church. I am the Reverend Susan Suchocki Brown. I'm so glad that you're joining us this morning, this beautiful day before summer morning. We have a worship service this morning that includes a celebration recognition of many of our volunteers and also continues the theme of play. And I am ever so delighted to be joined by a team of worship associates who help to have worship services come together, hopefully as smooth and as playful as is possible. And this morning I'm joined by Laurie Bilby, worship associate. Laurie, thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Reverend Susan. Good morning, everybody. It's great to be with you on these great long light days of the late spring, early summer. And I'm excited about the worship service this morning. I am a worship associate, so I've been through this installation, thank you, say goodbye thing that the shared ministry people do for us every year. And I'm looking forward to seeing what Laura Montville is going to bring us in terms of introducing us to new folks who are coming on to do the good work of South Church. In addition, we'd like to thank a lot of people who work to bring our services together, especially Jen Leiden for all of the video production. And we look forward to music by Laura Donovan and Susan Adams. And of course, always the story for all ages brought to us by Jen Del Deo. So thanks. Laura, can you tell us a little bit about what's coming?
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. And yes, thank you, Laurie and Reverend Susan. I'm going to say quite a bit more about shared ministry and what's coming in a little bit, but for now, I'll say the shared ministry team is so very excited about our installation service this morning and for the year ahead. But today's service gives us that opportunity to thank those that are stepping down and welcome those that have joined in for the next 2 years.
Well, we're so glad that you could join us, whether this is your first time or your 100th time. You're always welcome here. Please know that we care and love you, and we want to know what's going on in your life. Let the worship begin.
Good morning, South Church. I'm coming to you from the office at 73 Court Street today as we get ready to open next Tuesday. So excited to see all of you. We are also tentatively planning to be back in the sanctuary for worship on September 13th, which is also very, very exciting. Cannot wait to be together, to see you all, to hug you, and to worship together. I have just a couple of announcements for you this morning before we get started. The first is that South Church's newly formed community response team is calling you to action. We're asking that you phone or email Governor Sununu to tell him to veto the state budget if it includes any of the language from the Divisive Concepts Bill, HB 544, or the Extreme Abortion Ban Bill, HB 625. Governor Sununu can be reached at 603-201-2121 or by emailing governorsununu@nh.gov. You are also invited to join the rally that is sponsored by Raise Up New Hampshire at the State House in Concord on this coming Thursday, June 24th, from 10 to 12. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out. We're happy to provide this information for you again so you can reach out to the governor. The Spiritual Book Group would also like to remind you that they're hosting a discussion of Inheritance, a memoir of genealogy, paternity, and love by Danny Shapiro on Wednesday, July 14th at 7. You are all welcome. All you need to do is email southchurchbookgroup@gmail.com for the Zoom link.
Hi, South Church. There is less than 1 week to the 32nd annual Pocket Garden Tour, and we hope that you will join us. Many people at South Church have volunteered to help make this happen. People are garden sitting. We have an amazing committee this year that has done so much, including adding a new component of educational offerings. This includes Megan Harris from South Church doing leaf casting, John Forty from South Church doing book talks on his new book, as well as signing them and having them for sale, obviously, there. And then we have a gentleman, Eric Waholtz from Strawberry Bank Museum, who is hosting us this year due to the construction at South Church, and he will be talking at the Goodwin Mansion. This, along with a total of 15 gardens on a 1 3/4 mile loop, is going to make for an absolute beautiful weekend. So stop by South Church today between 1 and 3 on the portico to buy tickets, or buy them online, or check out one of 7 local retailers who are selling them at their businesses. And finally, if you wait until the last minute and just join us on Friday between 5 and 8, or Saturday between 10 and 4, come down to Strawberry Bank Museum at the Goodwin Mansion, and you can pick up your tickets there and then take the tour immediately. See you there.
Happy Father's Day. Today, we honor all dads, veteran dads, new dads, those waiting to become dads, those who will someday become dads, stepdads, foster dads, single dads, dads who have lost children, and dads we have lost. Today, we honor you. Happy Father's Day.
Good morning. This morning, Kirsten and I are honored to be part of this volunteer recognition and installation ceremony as we acknowledge the essential leadership held by shared ministry and each of our 5 associate teams here at South Church.
Yes, today we express our thanks for the care and commitment of departing and continuing members, and we welcome the newest members of these leadership teams.
Hi, it's Laura again, and I want to begin our program by sharing the mission of Shared Ministry. We are committed to maintaining the integrity, individuality, and spiritual growth of each associate program and its members. We are also committed to recruitment efforts to match people's passion to embrace the work of South Church. This year, as some of you already know, we are extending our invitation to join one of the Shared Ministry Associate programs. We hope that this extra time will allow for more opportunities to see each other live and have those conversations that we are used to having to invite more people in to join in the work. I'm wondering, what have you been thinking about as it relates to being included and making a contribution? And now I want to express special thanks to Martha Netch and Carol Pevor, who have completed their term on the Shared Ministry Committee. It has truly been wonderful working together. For your faithful service to South Church and to the many people in our community who have been touched by your generous leadership and support, we are deeply grateful for your presence. Thank you. You have served us well. Brenda Bladen, Martha Cunningham, and Marty Waldron, thank you each for your generous and steadfast leadership, support, and commitment on Shared Ministry and to the work ahead of us. I look forward to working with each of you as we develop more ways of sharing the leadership across our community. And now, as we continue our program, I'd like to say to our existing and incoming associate members that your fellow shared ministry leaders and I are all here for you. Please know that you can call on us as we all do this work together. In these ceremonies, we ask for a commitment of the incoming people to support the mission of South Church. When we are finally all together again in person and we ask for that commitment, we look forward to hearing your unanimous "we will." Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Carol Cameron Sears, convener for the Fellowship Associates. The mission of the Fellowship Associates is to engage all of us in the spiritual practice of hospitality. We help welcome guests, encourage new and current members to participate in the life of the church, facilitate the path to the membership program, and help us to celebrate milestones throughout our community. We thank Rebecca Blake, Alan Aman, Kathy D. Pentima, Kevin Leahy, Ginny Cease, Jim Monroe, and Emily Bolton for their continuing commitment and generosity. And we especially honor Angela Matthews, Pam Martirano, Tom Barry, and myself who have completed their terms. For engaging us in the good work of hospitality, we are deeply grateful. Thank you all. You have served us well. Let us introduce our newest fellowship associates, Linda Keefe, Jan Marston, and Jane Kavanaugh. On behalf of all the congregation, I thank you for becoming part of a team that helps us welcome and support all who come to South Church, seeking friendship, connection, and spiritual deepening. Thank you to all of you for your service to South Church.
Hello, I'm Brian Murphy of the South Church Learning Associates. The Learning Associates program was newly formed in 2019 to turn a special focus toward the many types of learning that are integral to spiritual growth at South Church. Today, on behalf of my fellow learning associates, Lauren Katz and Alexandra Lockwood, I want to offer our deepest gratitude to two of our inaugural members whose terms are over and will be moving on. Rebecca Dawson-Webb and Brad Greeley, we thank you for your dedication to the South Church community and for your passion for the joy of learning. We so enjoyed sharing time with you as learning associates, and we appreciate the trailbreaking work that you have done to establish this new associate program. While we carry with us many things we have learned from Brad and Rebecca, we also look forward to new energy and new perspectives to come. Today, we also welcome two new learning associates, Laura Eves and Arthur Eves. Laura and Arthur, we are so happy to have you join us and grateful for your willingness to invest yourselves in learning at South Church in all of its wonderful forms.
My name is Kim Rivest. I'm the co-convener along with Linda Keefe of the Pastoral Associates. The mission of the Pastoral Associates is to deepen the sense of community and caring by providing connection and offering support for one another during times of need and celebration. We thank Michael Alapena and Donna Waldron for their continuing commitment and generosity. And we honor Linda Keith and Donna Melillo, who have completed terms as pastoral associates. We are deeply grateful for their faithful service to South Church and to the many people in our community who have been touched by their generous care and compassion. So thank you so much, Linda and Donna. You have served us well. Welcome to our newest pastoral associates, Jenna Coynes, Charlotte Ramsey, Martha Alman, and Martha Lath. On behalf of the congregation, I thank all of you for your willingness to commit to our congregation and to care for them in times of sorrow and celebration, illness and renewal. You will help us deepen our connection to this beloved community. We wish you well in your new role and invite you to call on us when you need help. Welcome, and thank you for your service to South Church.
Hi, I'm Joe Foster.
And I'm Robin Schnell.
For the past year, Robin and I have been co-conveners of the Social Justice Associates here at South Church. Our mission is to educate and advocate for social justice change, working on two themes that roll over the course of 2 years. We just finished up 2 years on our environmental justice theme and took up a new theme on living wages. Also, because we had the special circumstances of an election year, we continued with our Get Out the Vote project. Lastly, we also manage the Shared Plate program for South Church.
This year's members included Connie Fryermuth, Anna Howard, Mary Bannock, Janet Pulaski, Linda Benham, and Dave Thompson. We have no incoming members as yet, but we will welcome those who want to work either as a fully participating member or in a more partial mode doing something like managing our Facebook posts or taking care of the shared plate voting. Dave, Joe, and Connie, unfortunately, will not be continuing, and we will miss their passion for social justice and the skills and gifts that they brought to our
projects that we did. Janet Pulaski will be joining me as the co-chair starting this summer. Thank you.
Thank you. So we're grateful to all of the members, those who are staying and those who are leaving, and all of you at South Church who joined us to work on social justice over the past year.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Cummings, the convener of the Worship Associates. Worship Associates enrich the experience of worship by involving the laity in the worship life of the church. Worship Associates are responsible for consulting with ministers on worship at South Church, assisting ministers with liturgical elements of worship, and organizing any lay-led services. The mission of the Worship Associates is to work with the minister to support, enrich, and deepen the spiritual life of our church through the collaborative creation of inspiring and meaningful worship services. There are 3 Worship Associates who have completed their terms: Bob Vaccaro, Brian Bliss, and Arthur Eves. Thank you very much all for your service and for your wise words. And there are 5 of us who are continuing on with our terms: myself, Laurie Bilby, Myra Aronson, Hillary Clark, and Brett Newberry. So we're down to a fantastic 5. If anyone is ever interested in joining us, we're always happy to return to an Elite 8. Thank you for joining us for our Sunday services, and we'll be seeing lots more of you.
The shared ministry model of leadership at South Church serves a critical role in the health and well-being of our whole community. Each of these groups lead us toward realizing our commitment to serve one another and the wider community. The strength of this shared leadership has been so evident over the past few years as we have navigated tremendous transitions together. Thank you, all of you, for your vision, courage, and faithful commitment to the ideals of South Church.
And having the opportunity to witness and support the shared ministry team, as well as each of the associate groups, has been a gift over this past year. As Kirsten and I work together to serve the goals and vision of South Church, we are consistently inspired by how the associate groups do their work. They have met the challenges of this unique year with grace, openness, and a willingness to adapt to the times. And as we prepare for a new chapter, I am confident that the work of these leaders will continue to help our congregation thrive. And so Kirsten and I join our voices together to the current shared ministry and associate group ministers, including those who are finishing their terms. Thank you for your service. And to all of the new associates, welcome to this holy work.
Siahambe kuken kwekos, siahambe kuken kwekos, siahambe kuken kwekos, siahambe kuken kwekos, siahamba, siahambe kuken kwekos, siahamba. We are marching in the light of the world. We are marching in the light of the world. We are marching in the light of the world. We are marching in the light of the world. Siahamba.
So, play. Really? I am a task-oriented firstborn, excessively responsible and driven to be useful, frequently overcommitting time and energy in pursuit of being good enough. How on earth would someone like me talk about, much less actually do, this play business? And yet, I do play, I think, sometimes. I mean, I no longer hang out in the backyard with friends on hours-long imaginary escapades where sticks serve as everything from horses to swords to conductors' batons. And I don't engage in team sports anymore, where the camaraderie and the competition of softball or flag football often led to deep bonding and deep bruises. I do miss those grad school and young adult nights of pizza and Trivial Pursuit. I loved the deep connections formed in being silly with partners and family and friends, and relish the too few moments when a group of adults actually figure out how to let it happen. For several years now, I've been learning to paint. I am neither a diligent student nor a naturally artistic person. But the moments when I make the time to get the stuff out, setting up materials for something I just want to do, don't need to do, it's kind of fun. And working out a composition is fun. What's going to go where on the page? And then the actual painting part starts. And sometimes the rest of the world just drops away. And there's nothing but the doing in the moment. It's tricky. If I can just let myself drop expectations about the outcome, creative thought happens, and unexpected choices, and new ways of seeing that stay with me. It's joyful, it's restorative, it's transformative. But that shift away from where this endeavor should lead has to be set aside, or painting just becomes one more long thing in a stream of chores. And I probably shouldn't even be doing it because there are so many other better painters out there and so many other things clamoring for my time and attention. So what I think I'm coming to understand is that play isn't absence of effort. It's allowing time and space for a chosen endeavor, alone or with others, to take you someplace outside of the ordinary in a joyful, fun, freeing, and maybe unexpected way. May all of our Associates Program participants find those moments during their service to our congregation. And may each of us allow just a little playtime today. We invite you to light a flame in a chalice in your home this morning, even as the chalice in our sanctuary is lit with these words from the Reverend Scott Taylor. Let this dancing be our guide. Let it lure us into letting go of the worries, of the stiffness that sets in after all the striving, of the myth that productivity alone gives us purpose. The garden of life we've been given is a playground. The weeding can wait. Please do join me in reciting together our mission statement. At South Church, we nurture spiritual growth through worship, learning, and community. We celebrate the worth and dignity of all people, and we inspire one another to act on our faith in the larger community.
Good morning. My story today is part memory and part imagination, which I've come to believe is actually the case for every story. So a long time ago, the people of Woodfrog Hollow were ruled by a woman who had hair like a halo, a fiery tongue, and a twinkle in her eyes. One day she called all the people together and told them that they would be tested. She said she'd be sending them in groups to different parts of the land and that each group was to complete their test and return by the time the sun set. First, she gathered the elders. She told them that their job was to create peace with the Hemlock Grove people who lived on the other side of the North River. The Woodfrog people and the Hemlock Grove people had been fighting for years over who should be able to use the river. A peace plan would be difficult, but the halo-haired woman directed the elders toward the river and they left. Next, the woman told the Woodfrog plant experts that their assignment was to find a medicine to cure a sadness that had seemed to be affecting many in the community. They nodded confidently and set out toward the western slope. Then she spoke to the animal experts. Their challenge was to find out all the different animals that used the land so that everyone could know the extent of the web of life that surrounded them. They gathered some investigation tools and were on their way. Now the last group was the little kids. They were a roly-poly, squirrely, playful bunch, and they were the woman's favorite. The woman told them that their job was to visit each of the other groups while they worked on their tests, and that she knew they'd know exactly what to do when they got to each group. The little ones began their journey, and when they arrived at the elders' camp near the river, the elders were hiding behind trees and bushes and watching the people on the other side of the river, who were carefully walking into the cool water to wash their hot and dirty legs and arms. Now, the Woodfrog people didn't like this because it affected the fishing that they liked to do in this spot. One of the Woodfrog elders was perched behind a bush right at the edge of the river, frowning and leaning out a bit over the water to watch without being seen. When the children came up behind, they saw something they couldn't resist. They yelled, "Otter slide!" And they all proceeded to slide on their bellies down the bank and into the shallow water, just like they'd seen otters do in this kind of spot. They were laughing and splashing while all the adults were kind of stunned watching. The noise drew the attention of the kids on the other side of the river, who thought this looked like great fun and joined in. Eventually, the frowning Woodfrog elder leaning over the water also yelled "Otter slide" and slid down the bank into the water laughing. All the people on both sides of the river began to laugh and play along. The Woodfrog littles got out of the water, wrung out their clothes, and walked on, leaving everyone still playing and laughing at the river. When the kids arrived at the plant people's camp, they saw a big wooden bowl that was kind of shaped like a ball. It looked like a fun thing to play with, and they hatched a plan. One of the tricky littles walked to a spot a bit away from the bowl and called to the adults, "Wow, I found a really cool plant over here. What is it?" And all the plant lovers fell for the trick and they went over to investigate. Meanwhile, while the adults were distracted, another little tricky kid quietly snuck over to the bowl and grabbed it and ran away laughing. When the adults saw this, they got nervous because this was the bowl they were going to make the medicine in. So they chased the child, which was great fun for the child, and the other children began to squeal and run too. The kids ran and leaped and tumbled and tossed the bowl back and forth between each other to keep it away from the adults. It was a pretty funny scene. It was kind of like a football game at a circus full of tiny clowns, and soon even the adults were laughing and leaping until they finally got their bowl back. The adults and kids all sat, breathing heavily from the running and jumping, and they had smiles on their faces and in their hearts from the unexpected fun. The adults made a delicious drink from plants in the special bowl, and they all shared it, and it all felt like really good medicine. The littles moved on, and they found the animal people's camp. There was a big light-colored cloth spread out on the ground with tools and supplies laid out for the work the adults were doing. There were binoculars and magnifying glasses and field guides and measuring tools. And these looked really interesting to the littles. They walked over to pick up the items, and because their feet had been wet from the river and dirty from their running, they left little muddy footprints as they walked on the cloth. The adults had been sitting quietly, hiding, waiting to see what kinds of animals would come along. But when they saw the kids, they knew that there wouldn't be any animals walking through here anytime soon. When the adults approached the kids, they weren't angry. And one animal person noticed the muddy footprints and had a big realization that it didn't make sense to wait for the animals to come to them, and that they could instead look for marks left by animals to know who had lived on the land. Well, since time was running out, they decided to set a timer, and they each looked for as many clues left by animals as they could find. The kids helped, and it was actually really fun. And by the end, they had discovered tracks and signs left by dozens and dozens of mammals and insects and reptiles and amphibians and so many other living things that they wouldn't have seen by just sitting and waiting. Now, you can imagine how the rest of this story went, but the important thing is that all of the tests were passed, because in every instance, everyone involved realized the importance and the value and the wisdom that each person of every age could contribute. And they recognized the right balance of both hard work and play, and how that can make some real magic. I love you, and I hope to see you soon.
It is now time for our morning offering. Our contributions to South Church go to support our buildings, our staff, and our programming. In addition, they go to support the recipients that we vote upon for our shared plate ministry. For the month of June, this includes the South Church Immigrant Support Fund. A number of immigrants who are undocumented and face all kinds of legal and economic difficulties have passed through our doors in the past couple of years, and this fund helps us help them. Please give as generously as you are able, according to the instructions that will appear on the next screen.
For this precious day, we're all gathered here, and those far away, for this time we share, with love and care.
Testing.
Let us be together in an attitude of prayer and reflection. Holy One of blessing, sometimes this world is so overwhelming. I am just bogged down with discomfort, and my shoulders feel so heavy and my heart feels so heavy. Holy One, this has been a tough month, a tough year. There's so much going on in the world. Every day there's more shootings. Every day there's more to take away the power of others. Every day we struggle. Every day we get through one more day of this COVID, one more day of when and what and how much more can we bear. And my heart is heavy. My heart is heavy. But then I think of you all, and I'm filled with gratitude. When I see us gradually beginning together as groups and seeing people enjoying one another's company and sharing thoughts, and my heart becomes full. When I watch services like last week with our youth and the week before, it just makes me feel a little more hopeful. And I hope that you too feel some of that. So we are a mixture of pain and joy, of struggle and success. And we are thinking of you. We miss you. We look forward to the day when we can be together. And in the meantime, I pray for you. I pray for us. I pray for our community, this lovely South Church, people, this community, and this world. Please take a moment now to write any prayer concerns that you might have in the chat. Let us know what you need. Know that we will be in touch, that we care for you. Please take a moment of silent meditation as you center yourself. Amen. Nothing could interrupt a game of Simon Says quicker than Grampy Fay starting Clyde, the 1957 Ford pickup, as the tribe scrambled to get into the rear bed before he took off. Sometimes the trip would only be a half a mile away to South Gardner to the parts store. Sometimes the trip was a 3-mile journey to another repair parts shop. This trip always involved stopping for donuts on the corner of Sand and West Street. And the trip, no matter how far it was, would interrupt the games we were playing, but the trip always was an experience of play as learning, play as creative process, play as engagement with the world. Do you remember these games? Red Rover, Come On Over, Red Light, Green Light, Hide and Seek, or Frozen Tag. These were the games that we might have to cease, but we never did stop our play and learning as a tribe. Grampy Faye used to say, I start up Clyde, the kids come out from every rock, nook, and cranny, and before I know it, there's this tribe in the truck. It was usually all 13 of us, minus the twins, who, though they played with us, who we had deemed at the age of 4, were far too young to be in the back of the truck. And as we would drive away, they, using their own distinctive, most untranslatable twin language, would express their dissatisfaction with the group. And off they would go to play by themselves till we returned. It was following one of these drive-offs that the police were waiting us when we returned with our 24 donuts. The house down the street was for sale, and we used to run by the house, all 15 of us, this included the twins, touch the for sale sign and yell to the boy who lived there, "Good riddance, we won't miss you." Really immature and silly territorial behavior, which is one of the negative effects of tribal belonging. But eventually we learned how to be our own tribe without demonizing others outside of our group, which is a positive learning. Anyway, when we got back and the police cruiser was waiting for us, the conversation went something like this. Grampy Faye to the police officer, "What's up, Tony?" And this was a town and time when every neighborhood had its own officer who knew everyone and was known in return. And Officer Tony looked at all of us and said, "I know you have been saying very mean things to Archie. It's not nice of any of you, not nice at all. But for taking down that for sale sign is a crime. And you can be found guilty of trespassing and stealing. So tell me," said Officer Tony, "who is responsible?" Well, honestly, we told Grampy Faye and Officer Tony we did not take down the sign. And Officer Tony put on his most stern face and said, "I want to know who did this, and you will go up and apologize, all of you as a group or the one who did this, but I am not going anywhere till I get that sign back and you apologize." Well, in the meantime, as we were all gathered around wondering and not knowing what to do, because we didn't move the sign, the 4-year-old twins couldn't stop babbling. And finally their sister, who could sometimes interpret their conversations, asked them what they knew. And right then and there, they began to gibber and talk to each other more frantically. And suddenly, hand in hand, they walked to the shed and got the sign where they had hidden it and told their sister they had taken it down because we wouldn't let them go in the truck with us. And then they proceeded, hand in hand, to march right up to the door and apologize to Mrs. Sussman. Now, Officer Tony and Grampy Faye watched this grand confession in amazement. And we, the tribe, made sure from then on out that the twins got up and got safely tucked in the bed of the truck. We learned from this play that the group effects and way the group acts, one or more, can affect the entire group reputation. And as a tribe, we had to wrestle with our influence that we had on one another and on the neighborhood. Now, that ability to be together in a tribe to play provided new ways of learning. Taking a trip in the back of Clyde would interrupt a game, but it would never, and it was apparent to me, would never interrupt the play, because we were being offered another type of play. The kind of play that brought us out beyond the boundaries of where we usually were and to learning new ways. Now, Diane Ackerman, author of Deep Play, offers this definition that helped me to begin to make sense of my experiences and learning by playing in tribe. She writes, "Deep play is a state of unself-conscious engagement with our surroundings. And secondly, it is an exalted zone of transcendence over time. And finally, it is a state of optimal creative capacity." When we played as a tribe, we were constantly engaging with our surroundings, and we were learning what are the limits, where are the boundaries, and what are the consequences if we go outside of the boundaries. We learned this lesson many times, but this story came to mind when thinking about tribe play as having rules and guidelines. We had a railroad track at the end of the road. We were told, do not go on the tracks, do not go near the trains. They are fast and deadly, and they run through the neighborhood with supplies at 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. Don't go up there. The boundaries were set, and of course, we violated them. And we would go to play near the tracks after school. One day, the whole tribe was there, 15 of us, because now the twins were among the gang. And one of the tribe, I'm not sure who, Bill, Brian maybe, thought it would be really, really cool to throw rocks at the containers as they were rapidly rolling by. He threw a rock. Uh-oh, it boomeranged right back, hit him in the forehead, knocked him to the ground. He really looked unconscious, and he began to bleed. Now, I was the official leader of the tribe, so it fell to me to do something, and I ordered everyone to move him away from the track, not leave him. I ran and got my mother, the nurse, whom I knew was home from work by that time. What had started as play and flirting with danger and testing our boundaries and experimenting and thrill-seeking had turned into a situation that meant confession, punishment, and consequences, but required outside help. And as was typical of those type of learning situations, all the parents pulled together and all the tribe kids were rounded up and a lecture was laid upon us. Play as tribe sometimes meant learning some hard lessons and having to confess to behavior that was unhealthy for the entire group. And I think, and I know, that our adults recognize that as a tribe, playing together meant we were a unit, and we were coming together and coming up with ideas, and that group creativity was awakened in us, and that exploring the world and our surroundings was not just an individual approach, but a group approach. And that has solidified in me a real appreciation of the power of group, the strength of communities with communities, and that ever-present need to test my ideas out and my thoughts within a group that can offer me feedback. And I need others around me to help me become the best person I can be. Now, play as tribe offered a safety net, taught us how to settle differences. I was often the voice of final authority, but occasionally there would be an uprising, reminding me that though I thought I was the boss, I was not the boss. Group play offered comfort and support too. When things were not good at home, or when a job loss or sickness had hit in the family, when tough times or emotional turmoil was within a home, we came together and supported one another, and we could escape for at least a little while by gathering for play. And when we got together, that group imagination could be engaged in, as we said to one another, what are we going to do today? And as I said, we learned freedom. We could go anywhere in the neighborhood and we learned limits. There were limits that we just did not transcend, such as the admonition to not bother Mr. Ledbetter, who lived at the shack at the end of Tar Street. It was clearly explained to us, and we respected this, that Mr. Ledbetter had had a very difficult life, that his parents were mean and died when he was very young, that he was different, and that he didn't want to be bothered by the tribe playing around his home, but he wanted to be left alone because that was his choice, and we must respect that. And you know what? The tribe, when playing, never bothered Mr. Ledbetter. And that's another important lesson learned by playing with the tribe. It began really when we were told we were being mean to Archie Sussman, and that though we were a tribe, we couldn't be unkind to those who weren't in our tribe. And as our experiences with the larger world grew, we began to learn about in-groups and out-groups and those who had been excluded. All 15 of us who were in that tribe became teachers, social worker, child care workers, counselors, police officers, minister, local politicians, each in their own way and through their own calling. That was developed in the tribal play. We engage in the world in ways to help others. And we also wrestled with the fact that we could have remained an insular, self-contained unit that kept others out, but instead we learned to become more welcoming. And our tribe expanded and grew not just in size, but in spirit of generosity. I remember an experience of being at Bent's Pond, an ice pond, when a game of capture the flag was suggested by all the people who gathered there, not just our tribe. And we all began to play together, but soon our tribe stopped playing because the game was beginning to exclude people, to make fun of those who couldn't skate as fast, and to belittle and to pick on others. That tribe, my tribe, without even saying anything out loud, took off our skates, left the game, left the pond, knowing we were going to walk home hugging and laughing and enjoying and playing together, no matter how well we could skate, and we would not abide people being picked on. Those writers from the UUA who put together this idea of play asked some important questions that I want to leave you with. What makes something play? Is it when you feel free from the burden of producing an outcome, or when creativity is involved? Is it when you lose time or extend past some boundary, or is it when you can just be yourself? And when I began to reflect on play and learning with my tribe, I began to grasp another way of looking at play. For me, it is a way to engage with the world and others, a way to reflect and discover really what matters, and involves not just my creativity, but a group commitment to building a place of authentic sharing and caring and being. And I hope you find South Church to be this place. And if something is missing, then let's create it together. May it be so.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Go your way. Take this day time to play. Play with enthusiasm, play with abandon, play with imagination, play and enjoy. And also take time to pray for peace, for joy, for health, for community, for this hurting world. Because the love, the peace, the joy that we have the power to bring forward may in fact help heal it. May love surround you and yours today and evermore. So be it.